Today, Gaming America is talking to Senator Joseph Addabbo of the state of New York. New York recently legalized mobile sports betting, so we'd like to get his take on the progress that it made over the last year and what the future holds. Thank you for joining us today, Senator.
Good morning, Cameron. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. You too. My first question is, after speaking to our colleague last year, you did mention in that conversation that there was a conflict between the former governor of New York and the structure that legal mobile betting would have between his vision and your vision. And would you say that in the end, your vision triumphed? And could you speak about the process of that happening?
Well, actually, in the end, it was a hybrid between then Governor Cuomo's vision and my colleague's vision from the legislature. And what we did was we combined them. The structure of which was really Governor Cuomo's structure, but we incorporated about 35–40% of our language, including many of the gaming addiction safeguards that are in the final model of mobile sports betting. So we see at this point how we go forward under this product that New York now has, which has proven to be successful, at least on the first weekend, but we'll see if it can sustain that kind of success going forward.
Sure. And ultimately, would you say you're satisfied with the structure of mobile sports betting in the state?
Well, based on last weekend's record numbers, yeah. Again, I think it was long overdue, Cameron. And the idea here is New Yorkers were waiting to do it legally and safely in their own state, proven again by those numbers. So, like I said, now our job shifts. Now that the ball has crossed the goal line and we now have mobile sports betting in New York, now we have to monitor it. So we'll monitor it periodically. Super Bowl's coming up, NFL playoffs are coming up this weekend, NHL, NBA, March Madness. So we'll, again, periodically evaluate the numbers and see if ever we could always evolve and make it better.
I mean, what would you think would some improvements be down the line? Is it too soon to tell?
Yeah, great question. We're already planning on, right now in New York, if a New Yorker wants to bet on any major sport, but then wants to bet on horse racing, they have to get off one app, go on to another. And I think in today's technology, that's unacceptable. So we're looking right now in this budgetary process, which starts next week for us here in New York, to basically merge the mobile sports betting apps with the horse racing apps and allow them to negotiate that kind of merger. So that's going to be something we're going to work on, again, with this budget period.
Sure. Now, a lot of operators would say that the tax rate is a little bit high in New York as compared to other states. Are you worried that it's going to hinder the ability for operators to be successful, or if the high tax rate will make bettors move, just go to New Jersey to get better odds or better promotions?
That's the trick, right? To keep New Yorkers here. I always said it's a switch and stay, right? So ask New Yorkers to switch what they're doing, whether it be illegally going to Jersey, Pennsylvania, switch and then stay with us. And for us to be successful, they need to stay with us long term. If that happens, if the product that we have here in New York is so competitive and the volume of bettors in New York stay with us for the long term, then the issue of 51% tax rate is not an issue at all. So again, it remains to be seen. But like I said, if we sustain these kind of numbers and this kind of handle and volume, the tax rate will not be an issue.
I suppose sort of team operator partnerships might have something to do with keeping New Yorkers in New York. I mean, there are a lot more professional sports teams in the state of New York than New Jersey.
Yeah, there is. Again, some perceive New York as the sports capital of the world. Yeah. It has great stature in the global market of sports. Many of the headquarters for major leagues are in New York. We have a population double that roughly of New Jersey. We have a tourism that's probably double that of New Jersey. So when we look at competing states, New Jersey being, again, a prominent competing state, they've done so well with sports betting, mobile sports betting in their state. We seem very competitive at this point. And given like I said, the product that was initiated this past weekend, I'm very confident that at some point in the very near future, we can leapfrog or eclipse New Jersey in terms of wagers and handle and revenue.
Sure. I'd like to move on, if you will, to other areas in the regulated gambling industry. For instance, the state of New York is due to award 3 downstate licenses for casinos. I'm not sure how much you're involved in this process, but insofar as you are, is there a sort of ideal that you're looking for in which casino operator to award these licenses to?
Yeah, mobile sports betting is going to bring a lot of revenue to New York, a lot of educational funds, gaming addiction, problematic gaming funding, new funding, even funding for youth sports. But the real revenue and the real educational funding and all the benefits is with the downstate licenses. If everything goes according to budgetary plan, because again, that's another conversation I want to have in this year's budget. New York could recognize roughly $2 billion in upfront licensing fees with these 3 licenses. If we do nothing this year at all, Cameron, these 3 licenses become active next year. So the idea is what we're doing is simply expediting it by 1 year. But to realize that $2 billion early, at least a year early, helps us in this COVID pandemic that has wreaked havoc financially and economically upon New York. So that's going to be a great discussion. Where they go, that's for an open process that needs to be a credible, transparent process, which I think we can do. Actually, I know we can do because we just did it with mobile sports betting and finding its providers and operators. So again, I look forward to working with Governor Hochul and her administration and my colleagues to get this done this year.
Sure. And about this increase in tax revenue, did as part of the deal of getting this whole ship moving, does certain revenue go to certain areas like education, certain to health? And I know often problem gambling might be you set a little bit aside for that. I was wondering if you could speak a bit to where the revenue is going to be divided, what programs, whatnot.
Sure, and I give a lot of credit to my team. My committee team, my legislative team, my legal team, because we took painstaking efforts to make sure that all monies that in the language of the both mobile sports betting, even going forward, even with the downstate, like that, all revenue is earmarked. So it's not a question of where this money goes. Predominantly it goes to education, as gaming money has done. Our gaming industry in New York, on the average, gives education funds of about $3 billion. I have Resorts World in my district here, in Southern Queens. They alone, in the 10 years that they've been open, they've given over $3 billion, just them, to education. So, the gaming industry does, again, fund education significantly. And so, yes, it's important that we earmark that. The mobile sports betting, very proud of the fact that we put into the mobile sports betting language an additional $6 million every year guaranteed for new addiction programs, as well as the 12 or dozen or so safeguards and protocols and measures to protect against addiction, and new $5 million every year for youth sports statewide. I think it's important that people know where the money goes, that even if they're not into sports or not into mobile sports betting or anything like that, they still benefit by this. And so that's what the issue of gaming in New York is, to make sure that the state in its entirety benefit, and that we do watch out for the problematic gaming issue. That is a must. Whenever we expand gaming in New York, we must address the gaming addiction issue.
Sure. How about online casinos? Are you looking to possibly legalizing that in the future, or have you had
You're
enough?
hitting all my points. Gavin, you're hitting all my budget points. That's the third budget point. Yes. We watched Jersey, and certainly during the COVID pandemic, where people had this apprehension about going into large crowds, they stayed home. And Jersey's numbers for online gaming or iGaming actually increased tremendously. We should partake in that. We can do so in a very safe, methodical way to protect against, again, the safeguards and against the problematic gaming. We can do that. There is significant revenue and educational funds there as well. It's a conversation I'd love to start this year, once again, in the budget.
Sure. My final question is a bit of a personal one. Now that mobile betting is legal, are you partaking in any way?
No. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about me. I love sports. I love to play sports when I have the time. I love softball. I love football. And I love sports. I follow my teams. I follow my players. But this wasn't about me. And I probably will never do a mobile sports bet. I just had this aggravation of watching $130 million every year go from New York to New Jersey, knowing that's our money. And it's unsafe, because if we wanted to help an individual with an addiction, we couldn't, because we didn't know who they were. They were going to Jersey, they were going online, they were doing it illegally. Now we can help them. Now we can regulate it, we can help them, we can monitor. So it wasn't about me at all. So yeah, I have my favorite teams and I have, who I want to win and so forth. But no, it won't be me placing a mobile sports bet.
Excellent. Well, I admire your intentions. That's all. Those are all the questions I had for you today, Senator. Thank you so much for speaking to us, and good luck
A real
with all
pleasure,
of your
Cameron.
endeavors.
Anytime. If I can be of any help, let me know. But I wish you a happy and healthy new year. Thank you
All
for
right.
your time as well.